Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today in this video, I'm going to show you how I painted this lotus flower with watercolors. A full-length real-time tutorial of this painting is already published on my Patreon site. The link to that is there in the description box below. So if you're interested, please do check that out. So a detailed line drawing is ready on my paper, which is also available on my Patreon. And this is a reference from Pixabay that I'll be using for this painting. So these are the colors that I'll be using. This is Rose Madder Lake, Helios Purple, Opera Rose, and Lemon Yellow. And this is a neutral grey mix that I have made by mixing three primaries. So for the cooler red, I will be using Rose Madder Lake. To this, I will be adding Cobalt Blue, which will be our second primary color. And our third primary will be Lemon Yellow. So this is going to be a shadow color that I'll be mixing. And this mix is more towards blue than yellow. So we'll be adding more of Cobalt Blue. Adding more blue. I'm going to water it down. And I'll show you how this color looks. So this is our mauve color. So before starting to paint, I'm just going to lighten this sketch by using my kneaded eraser. So I'll just roll over the whole drawing. I have done the drawing with a 2H pencil. So now for my first layers, I always prefer wet on wet technique. So I'm glazing this petal with water, giving it at least 2 to 3 coats of this water glaze, thoroughly soaking the petal, which is very important, and giving a very even shiny glaze to this one, something like this. See? And I'm using my number 4 brush, and I'll start with the lightest color, which is lemon yellow, which is there in this center over here. And now with a clean damp brush, I'm just lifting off the areas where I don't want that yellow color to be. So next I go in with my pink mix. This is Rose Madder Lake plus Opera Rose. I've added Opera Rose just to create a nice vibrancy in those pinks. Let the colors mix freely on the paper, giving a nice clean edge. Adding more pigment here, and then painting with the rest of the pigment whatever is there in my brush for the center, because the center is quite light. Always moving in the direction of the veins that you can see on the reference picture, leaving those yellow parts. Now I'm adding Helios purple to this cooler edge over here. Adding more pigment. This is the pink mix. Now to this I'm adding that neutral grey mix that we made. So these are all the shadow areas. Neatening the edges as I go. Keep your colors and washes very light at this stage. And now with a clean damp brush, I'm just going to lift off all the highlight areas. And after every time you lift, you clean your brush and repeat the process again. So for thinner lines, I just use the tip of my brush to lift. So you can keep on repeating this process till your paper is wet. Once it dries and nothing happens, then just stop and leave it to dry. Same thing on this petal over here. I've already lifted off all the highlights and now I'm again going in with a little bit more of the color just to darken it furthermore. And with a clean damp brush, I'm just going to stop that color from moving more into the lighter area because this center part is quite light. And then we have yellow over here, so I'm adding lemon yellow. And then with the damp brush, I'm just going to soften those edges. So this is one more neutral mix which I have made by using our primaries, lemon yellow, Helios purple and cobalt blue. And it is looking brown because I've used more of lemon yellow plus Helios purple, which will go on this petal. So I start with lemon yellow in the center. And I'm using Helios purple over here. Taking very watery mix, leaving that lighter edge, and I go up till that yellow, adding more pigment. This is same Helios purple. And now I'm taking my brown mix in this shadow area over here. So I've used the same colors which were there on the painting rather than going for a separate pigment like burnt sienna. And now with a clean damp brush, I'm just blending that color furthermore down because at the base it's quite light. Now I'm going to add my pink mix for all those pinker veins. And then with a damp brush, I'm just lifting all the highlights which are there on the petal. I work in the same way on all the petals. When you want to lift a broader area, just push your brush on the paper, and for thinner lines, just use the tip of the brush. With this, I finish the first layer on this flower and I'll leave it for drying. So I'm going to use dry brushing now for all the details because we have so much of visual texture on these petals. We can see so many lines on these petals. So dry brushing is an ideal technique, I feel, to go with the details, and that way we will also be retaining all the highlights that we have removed in our first layer. So I just do this dry brushing with very light layers of color, using my brush literally like a pencil, and slowly and gradually I increase the color intensity. Now I'm going to mix quinacridone gold plus cobalt blue to get a beautiful green gold color. With this color, I'm going to draw all the lines that are interlaced in between those petals, as if there are some nice gold threads going in between. So I'm using my number 0 brush over here. And if you observe the reference picture closely, these gold lines are in the center of all those highlights that we have lifted out. So very slowly and carefully, I'm making this very thin lines. At first you go with very light color, and once you're confident, then you can make it more darker. And in between those pink areas, I can see some pink lines, so I'm using Helios purple. So this is our detailing stage. Similarly on this petal as well. And after giving these gold lines, what I do is I just go over them with a damp brush so that they soften and they just get pushed back into the paper. I increase the shadow areas and the mid-tone areas. And similarly, I went with all the details in all these petals like this. More details on this one. This petal has beautiful spider web kind of patterns on it. Just little bit here and there, not too much. And now after all those details are done, I go ahead and do all the shadows. Because if you notice, even under those shadows, you'll be able to see all the veins and all the lifted highlights. I'm using Helios purple plus cobalt blue in this area for the shadows. And for the other areas, I've used my gray mix, which is French ultramarine plus burnt sienna, especially here and here. And this way I finish off all the shadows on the flower and finish off the stem as well. And with this we finish this painting. So if you enjoyed watching this preview, then do give it a like and do think of subscribing to my channel. I'll be posting regularly on my YouTube channel. So thank you for watching and see you then in the next video. Bye.